Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Thank you to Akaal channel who's getting us on here. So this is a special show about the Anand Kaaraj issue. एक खास प्रोग्राम ता हैगा क्योंकि आजकल पंथ विच बहुत बड़ा मसला चल रहा है इस चीज़ बारे. Just introduce myself. I'm Jagraj Singh. I myself and Baljit Singh, we work as pracharaks for basic Sikhi. You would have seen us on YouTube or on Akaal channel and one of our kathas as well. This issue is about Anand Kaaraj ceremony being for whether somebody who is not of a Sikh faith can take part in the Anand Kaaraj ceremony, and also because of what happened recently at Leamington Spa Gurdwara, where there was a protest, 55 Sikh youth were arrested, but to try to stop an interfaith Anand Kaaraj. But what happened is that all across the press, Daily Mail, Telegraph, Guardian, the whole Sikh Panth was painted, these people especially were painted as sword-wielding mobs of people that ruled into the Gurdwara. And in this way, we came across the Panth got negatively affected, and across the newspapers, social media, we got a lot of negative views saying the Sikhs are backwards, they're trying to stop people who love each other and marry each other. So this thing is about clarifying what the Sikh stance is, but also to give some solutions, how the Panth can move forward and avoid this kind of a situation. So Satsangat ji, going back to our first point, there is a lack of education around the Anand Kaaraj anyway. We know that across our community there's a lack of knowledge about the Anand Kaaraj. And one of the things that I've noticed when I've been to any Anand Kaaraj myself is there's very few Anand Kaarajas where someone even talks about the meaning of the lava, right? You've been to Anand Kaaraj, I'm sure, your whole life. No one ever explained the lava. And the other thing is no one really goes to the hukum of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But there are lots of other talks that happen. But the question is, are they talking about the actual four lava or just generally about the Sikh concept of marriage rather than about the detail? Viji, you were talking about Gurdwaras being much like cultural centres.
Yeah, so if we look at the whole concept of how a lot of our Gurdwara came about, especially in these countries, it seems as if they were built more so as cultural centres, even though Guru Granth Sahib Ji Paatshah Ji was present there. But when people came into these countries earlier on, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they lived on rent in one bedrooms, in a one bedroom place. So they needed somewhere where they can do their Kaaraj, where they can do their ceremonies, and then they built Gurdwara and put their hard-earned money into it. So we've got to give them that. We've got to appreciate them for that. But their centre wasn't, their focus wasn't to spread Sikhi.
Yeah. So there's that problem where education-wise, people are not trying to educate the youth as much as they're trying to get them to learn Punjabi. So every Gurdwara's got a Punjabi class.
Yes.
Very few of them will have a Gurmukhi class and a Santhya class, or even something which is like a Katha class in the language of the Naujawan. The other thing is, given that every Gurdwara was made by a small community, what happened is that there was no overall authority in the UK. So now, when a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, Sikh Council issued their guidance on that interfaith Anand Kaaraj shouldn't happen, the problem that happened is that everybody was like offended. Who are you to tell us what to do? And the reason for this is because historically, the Sikh community in the UK, every Gurdwara is run by small communities, right? And in a way, they sort of own that Gurdwara. Like you just said, they've put in their own hard-earned money into that.
But obviously they forget the whole concept of that Kabir Mera Mujh Mein Kich Nahi, Jo Kuch Hai So Tera. He was building it for the Guru and for the Sangat. And then because you put your money into it, and then when their families, when their generations came along, and they felt, well, ye sade bapu ne banaya, sade dadde ne banaya, and then they felt right over it as well.
Yeah. And it's sometimes hard to say that to somebody, you know, this is the Guru's house, it's not your house. It's not my house, it's the Guru's house. And that's sometimes a lesson that many committee wale can also learn. Now, going back to then the main ceremonies. So we talked about that there's six ceremonies and there's Kaaraj that happen in our Panth. So what we wanted to go through in terms of education is to look at a few issues that are quite important. The first one being that actually there are 4 Sikh ceremonies. You know? So can we go through them one by one?
Yeah, so the first one, which is now, most people call it the naming ceremony, which should have been called the Janam Sanskar, so the birth ceremony. In a lot of places now you see it diluted, and people think it's just about taking the first letter.
Right,
it was
for
a lot
the name.
Yeah,
the akkar for the name. Yeah.
So that was a part of it.
Yeah.
But obviously there was a lot more to it, because it was about connecting them to Bani.
Yeah.
And then actually initiating the child into where the parents were now taking responsibility to say, then I will now take responsibility to try and bring this child up in some form of rat. I won't cut their case. So that's what the Janam Sanskar, the birth ceremony,
and in fact, what we call baby Amrit in a way is made in a chula, where somebody would sit with Sarab Lobata, who was Amritari, with a kirpan, and they would read at least Japji Sahib or more part if they wanted to into that bata.
Again, put patase in it.
Yeah, patase, so it'd be sweet.
And then give that to the child.
Right. We have to speed through this. Sorry, we're going to have to. So that's the first sanskar.
Yep.
The second one.
So the second sanskar should have been, which we have not put it in here, and we should now add it in brackets.
Because this is actually 5, but most people go through 4. So we thought, let's talk about 4. But the second one, the fifth one, which is actually the second one, just so you understand, should be the Vidya Sanskar.
Vidya Sanskar, which is the Sanskar ceremony of education. So there should be a point where Gurmat education starts in that child's life.
That child, that's right. Yes. And that child is then attached to Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and then that child is learning about Gurbani.
So when we say Gurmat education, we mean then that's when they start to learn Gurmukhi, they start to learn Gurbani, they start to learn about Guru Sahib's itihas, sakhiyan.
Right.
You know, so babaniyan, kahaniyan, put so put karen.
Right. The third one is the Amrit Sanchar, where somebody would come along and take Amrit and become a member of the Khalsa. So this is a commitment to the Guru. The fourth one,
again, just quickly clarifying that, which is very important, because people think then, oh well, did that change during Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time? What about Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time? So Bhai Gurdas Ji clarified what happened during Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time up until Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, saying that Charan Toye Reh Raskar, Charna Amrit Sikhan Palaya. There was always some form of initiation to become a Guru Da Sikh.
Right.
It was there was general Sangat that came to Guru Sahib, but if they wanted to become a Sikh, and that's why that was clarified as well.
Amrit, and they got given Naam by the Guru. And then the fifth one, fourth or fifth, depending on whether you go to the Vidya Sanskar, but the last one is the one that's talking about when you die. So after you die, then the funeral ceremony. So Antim Sanskar.
Oh, you forgot the Lama.
Oh, sorry, we skipped one. That was the Lama.
What
so
the
marriage ceremony. So the Lama, which is the fourth one, so you'd go through the Lama ceremony when you get married. So normally Amrit was actually before the Lama, right? That's historically, people would take Amrit and then go and get married. And then the last one is the Antim Sanskar, because between marriage and then the last one, you wouldn't really have anyone for yourself, but you might do one for your kid when they're born, right? So the last one would be the Antim Sanskar, which is the Sikh funeral ceremony. The point we're talking about these 4 ceremonies is because 4 or 5 ceremonies is all of them involve a commitment to the Guru, and all of them are for Sikhs.
Yes.
You can't imagine taking some kid who doesn't intend to follow Sikhi, bring him into Gurdwara, give him chula of Amrit, and do an ardas to Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and then he walks out and is now going to be brought up as a Christian. And you certainly can't imagine taking someone who's not planning to keep Amrit Rehat and just take him along with you to the Amrit Sanchar. So if I decided, somebody else later on decided to get is married already, they're going to take Amrit, and their wife happens to be a Hindu or a Muslim, just come along with me. Take Amrit, but you don't have to keep your case. You don't have to follow it. You would never imagine that to happen.
He's just going to take the Amrit.
One more thing about respect, Veerji, is that even if you look at the last ceremony, Antim Sanskar, let's say someone had converted out of our faith and become something else, or was of another faith anyway but married to a Sikh, they couldn't then have an Antim Sanskar for that person who was not a Sikh, because they're not. You can't force your faith upon anybody. And in many ways, these 4 ceremonies or 5 ceremonies are all about being brought to Guru and as a personal relationship with the person and the Guru. And you can't force that upon someone just because you want company.
Yes.
So this is the key point to understand.
And they all flow, they come in perfect order. So from your Janam Sanskar, the parents' responsibility to bring them up with Sikhi values. Then the Vidya, from the Vidya, that gives them the drive to want Amrit. Jinko lagi pyas. Through the Vidya, they get the thirst to want the Amrit. Then they take the Amrit, they become the Gurus, and then
they find somebody else who's also on the same path as them.
Right.
And then they have Gristi Jeevan. So they get Anand Kaaraj.
And that's what Guru Amar Das Ji talk about, that Ek Jot Doi Murti, Tan Pir Kahiya.
Vaheguru. So the idea, when people hear about the idea, when I've been to many gurdwaras, and many gurdwara talks, and people have said, oh, in the Sikh concept is two lights merging into one. Well, a friend of mine gave me a very beautiful analogy, which I use oftentimes in Ardas, Katha of Anand Kaaraj, which is, if you've got the sun shining down, and we say that as Waheguru, and each of us is like a lotus in the mud, trying to come up, as a Sikh. Maharaj uses that, Jaise Jal Mein Kamal Alep. So this, you've got this one kamal here, one lotus flower here, another lotus flower here, and the sun above. What you get is a lovely triangle. And what he said to me is, look, when they come towards Waheguru in that triangle, then they automatically come closer together.
That's right.
Right? So the path of the Sikh is towards the Guru. And in the Anand Kaaraj ceremony, just to make it very clear, no one is taking an oath to each other. This is something that we forget. In the Anand Kaaraj ceremony, the couple that are standing there together are not taking an oath to each other, they're taking an oath to the Guru. And now we wanted to come to the point about the lava, right? So the lava are very rarely mentioned in the actual ceremony, because there's 4 oaths taking place. Each lava is read out by the party. The couple will bow down to say they accept it. Then they will walk around, come back and listen to the next hukum of the Guru. So you have to accept each one. And you had a good point about the Lama Virji, about the actual, what it says in the Gurbani.
Yeah, so
in the Pehli Love.
I've always wanted to make this point, and that the strangest thing that Masaf and Jagraj Singh find, and I'm sure many others too, that we talk about this topic, everybody's got opinion on it, whether you're a non-Sikh or you're a Sikh or you're Amritari Sikh, but strangely nobody seems to understand this topic through Gurbani. And Guru, so Bani is our Guru, and the whole concept of Sikhi is that you learn your Sikhi from your Guru. So anyway, clarifying this point, we don't need to go very far to understand what Maharaj is saying about whether does it make sense for somebody of another faith to be coming and taking Lama. So first of all, just to understand, the word Lam actually means to go round. To go round, signifying that I am a sacrifice to you. So meaning that I'm going to lose something, lose my own intellect that takes me far away from your concept, Guru Sahib, and I'm going to gain from what you are saying.
So it's actually the Guru that they're getting attracted, they're getting attached to.
That's right. So in the first law, Maharaj says that Bani Brahma Ved. So now if we're saying somebody of another faith is sitting there, but the first thing Maharaj is saying to us is that you've got to attach yourself to the Guru's word, to the Guru's teaching, to the Guru's instruction, which is Bani. If we put a slight pause, then we say Bani, Brahma Ved. Guru Ramdas is saying, you don't need to seek elsewhere now. You don't need to find how to live righteously from anywhere else. But Guru Ramdas ji will tell us exactly how that is done.
Which is Guru Gobind Singh saying Ram, Rahim, Quran, Quran, Anek hai.
That's right.
Ek Ramaniyo.
And some people might question this and say, well, how can you translate Bani there to the Guru's Bani? And in the Shabad before that, in the Kudamai Shabad, Guru Ramdas ji, they tell us that Sant Jana Kar Mel, Gurbani Ga Vaya Balram Jiyo, Bani, Gur Gai, Paramagat Pai. They say, whose Bani are we going to connect to? The Guru's Bani. So over here we're saying Bani, Brahma Ved, Dharam Diradho, Paap Tajaya Balram Jiyo. Where are we going to learn which sins we need to forsake? From Bani. Yeah, you can't have, in one religion it says you can't smoke, in one religion you can smoke. So which one are we going to listen to when it comes to this? So you do need a Dharam, a set of instructions. If you have 2 different ones, it's a bit like by Gurdasi when they go that, if you're doi na pav tare, pahunch na par hai. If you got your feet on 2 boats, then you're unlikely to get across. Even though both boats might get across, you as an individual who are sitting with your feet in 2 boats. Because at some point they will drift somewhere. Right, somewhere, and you're going to fall. And you're going to fall in the middle. So this is actually this analogy is used many times, but actually comes from by Gurdasi Avana. That's right. So the next point we're going to talk about is this. So in the lava, in the first lava you just mentioned, there's this need to accept Gurbani. The other thing that's in the first lava is Satgur Gur Pura Aradho Sabkil Vik Paap Gavaya. That the first thing that the person must do when they're bowing down to this hukum, the first one, is to accept the Guru as their Satguru. That there's no one else they will put above when it comes to learning about the world and learning about Dharam. So really, the first lava is requiring a commitment to Gurbani of the Guru,
and no other Bani, and also a commitment to the Guru as your Guru and no other Gurus. And this point is very crucial, because when you start off by lying, by saying I'm going to just, that doesn't work. You can't start saying I'm going to go in a relationship with somebody, but I'm going to lie about the fact that I'm already married. That would be cheating them from the very start. So in the same way, when we're going into Gurdwara and we're bowing down to the first lav, most of the time the people that take part in this ceremony that are from an interfaith background, they don't even know this. No one has told them that by taking part in this first lav, you're saying you're not going to accept any other Bani as higher than Gurbani. You're not going to accept any other Guru as greater than the Guru. They would say, whoa, I've already got a Guru. I've already got the Quran Sharif, or I've already got the Bible, and that's what I follow. Why are you trying to change my religion? So for me, this is a key point, that sometimes people think we're rejecting people and saying you can't take part in the ceremony because you're not a Sikh. But if you think about it, we're respecting their religion. We're saying, listen, your religion will not ask you to take a false oath. And we don't want you to lie and start your wedded life with a lie. We want you to keep your dharm, because we accept everybody. Tumko tumhara khoob, humko hamara khoob, right?
And Guru Sahib Ji reinforces the idea in the next pankti. This is Dharam Dirho Har Naam Te Avo Simrit Naam Dirdaya. They said, what are our Simritiyan? Naam Dirdaya. Is to be firm and have God's name inside our heart. And who gives us the name of God is our Guru.
The other thing is that if you look at the 4 lava, what you've got is a spiritual path of a Sikh. But that spiritual path is not the path of every person who in every religion. So where you've got Hinduism or Islam or Christianity, the path of a Sikh is first dharm as defined by the Guru, to come into righteousness, live your life properly. The next step in the second lav is about fear and also love and awareness of God at all places. So this kind of loving fear and awareness of God, right? The third stage is about that, what we call a tyagna sab kuch, to bairag. So they leave everything.
It's when you've got that true pain, but it's a positive pain. It's that pain when you can see your goal now and you want to reach your goal.
And whatever's in your way.
And you will end up leaving naturally. You'll become detached because you're driven now to wanting to become one.
And detachment is not a feature of every faith.
No.
But then the fourth stage, Virji, again, is not a feature of every faith either. Which is Sahaj. So Sahaj Avastha, do you want to shed some light on that?
Sahaj Avastha, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji talk about through their Bani. Constantly they talk about that jo nar dukh mein dukh nahi mane, sukh sne aur pair nahi jaake kanchan mati mane. So Guru Sahib Ji is talking about when somebody just becomes so natural in their being and they're not fazed by sorrow, they're not fazed by joy, and they become this perfect being, which is our true self. And
in a way,
above
the ups and downs of this world.
And so we're not leaving the world. Raj mein Raj, Jog mein Jogi, Grest mein. So when Guru Sahib Ji is talking about that, we're Raja, we're not leaving the world as well. Tap mein to besar, Grest mein pogi. So Guru Sahib Ji says we're not leaving anything, but we're going to show you that perfect way of how to be there.
So we've got this Bani, which is so clear. And if anybody goes through any of the steeks inside Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the explanations, it's very clear. So we've ended up here somehow, where we've got this fight going on. And for me, I want to raise this point, which I think is very important, is that it comes to money. And I want to raise this point, because a lot of the youth don't understand this, right? What we've got now is that each Gurdwara is charging for these ceremonies. Right, you want a Sukhmani Sahib done, this much money. They've all got a price list in a way, a recommended price. They say it's not a price list, but they'll say recommended beta of this much. And so they'll charge a price for a Sukhmani Sahib, a Khand Path Bhog, or a Khand Path in general, and then the whole thing about the Anand Kaaraj. Now Anand Kaaraj is fairly high up in terms of the prices, But the thing to remember is it takes about the same time for a Sukhmani Sahib part as to have Anand Kaaraj done. But they charge much more times more than that, because people are willing to pay, right? And there's only 52 Sundays in a year, so you can increase the price for those, but you can get Sukhmani Sahib done anytime. Now, whether you agree with that or not, let's talk about the history of where it comes from, is the point you're making, that most people that made Gurdwara, it was a family thing, or a couple of families, 5-10 families came together, and they made a Gurdwara. Now, what happened is that over time, the community around them, it grew. And the people gave a lot of sacrifice. They took out second mortgages on their houses to pay to get the Gurdwara. Right? They went through a lot of struggles to make a Gurdwara. But other people moved into the area and they started using the Gurdwara. And people were like, but hold on, we made this Gurdwara. What are you giving towards it? You're doing all your programs here for free. So they said, well, what we got to do, pay back the mortgage in the Gurdwara by charging a price. So they said recommended peta. As time went on, so much money was coming in from that. Then they said, oh, we can use this extra money to make a bigger Gurdwara. Now that had a bigger mortgage, right? So we made this big Gurdwara. And then what happened next is that they were like, well, the money's flowing in. Make sure then that you make a Gurdwara that's got a really nice hall where all the married family can sit. Then they go, you know what people love in their weddings? They love the outside of the Gurdwara. So it should look good in wedding photos. And we should make, so they start making all these provisions to attract the market. Because the market is, if your Gurdwara doesn't look that good, doesn't have so much parking, it doesn't have, so people will go to another Gurdwara that has made the right parking and the right thing. So we've been to many Gurdwara now, right? And you can give your view, because we were talking about it on the way up here. But so many Gurdwara now, beautiful Gurdwara from the outside, loads of holes inside, and yet very rarely is there a lecture room or a classroom or a whole bunch of classrooms, and actually there's no more education going on over there. You know, last I heard from Leamington Spa Gurdwara, from some of the things, is they actually were charging the youth for the dud that the children were drinking after a kids' kirtan program. They were saying you should cough up some money for the dud the kids drink after the kirtan. And I thought to myself, I would rather pay the kids to come to Gurdwara and do kirtan than charge them for it. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to keep Sikhi alive, we need to get the youth into Sikhi. You know, and it was the other way around. It wasn't like, oh, we should, you know, encourage them or get them whatever they want, whether it's pizza, chips, kuch bhi le lo, bas Gurdwara
I'll be honest with you here, Vijay. I think I was conned as well. So I actually thought that some of these beautiful Gurdwara that are being made, they're actually to attract more youth, and so they can start having more programs there.
Yeah.
But it didn't take long to, like, obviously to realize that's not the case.
Yeah.
But it didn't click until now, until you was discussing this. A lot of the motive towards making them so beautiful is so people can have more Anand Kaaraj there, because that's where the money comes in.
So you can have two on a Sunday rather than one on a Sunday.
So I found out that I always find it something amazing when I found out a Gurdwara has got a lecture hall.
Yeah.
And
but it should be the norm, shouldn't
of course, yes. So like Smedic Gurdwara have got a lecture hall, amazing. We've done many programs and seminars there. Gurbani seminars we've done there.
has got one of the best lecture halls, but you don't find that.
And then I found out there was another Gurdwara. I was like, amazing. But guess what? The committee told us that no, you can't use that room. We have our meetings in there.
Oh yeah.
You can't. They said you can't do Gurbani lectures in there.
Yeah, that's right, because that would go against the Maryada of a Gurdwara, right? But you know, the thing that makes me laugh about this is that the Sangat go, "Bahut sona banaya." They made it such a good job, right? So, like, if, for example, in Southall, there's these beautiful, massive windows that are made. You know, they attract, they're like stained glass windows, and you go in there, you think, "Wow, it's so amazing." But is this made for the right reasons? Because I feel that now it's like a competition out there to attract people to come to the Gurdwara, to pay for to get the mortgage paid off, in order to build even bigger Gurdwara that have got more function halls, that can have even more function. And the thing is this cycle, where is it going? Is there something at the bottom which says Sikhi? Because Gurbani says Sikhi Sikhya Gur Vichar. Nadri Karam Langai Par. So we're here to swim across the worldly ocean, and the only way to do that is to take the Guru's Bani and to do vichar of it. The Sikhya that the Guru gave us. Think about it. Most of the time in these places, when I try to book a lecture theatre, they say, sorry, we haven't got one. We've got 5-6 halls. In some Gurdwara where I was in Canada, they had 5 or 6 halls. They were as big as a mall. The car park was as big as you would think as a mall. And literally they had not one lecture theatre that they could even fit 20 people into to sit on chairs. So moving on, because we talked about this quite a bit. So what the other thing that's brought about the current issue right now is the fact that there's more of an awareness amongst the youth, and we've seen that over the last couple of years.
Definitely. Yep. So with the awareness of the youth, I just want to touch on, and you can do the other points. What I did want to touch on is, so when we say the word youth, it's a really funny one. The word youth. So I'm just trying to work out who the youth are and where I fall into. So we're obviously categorized as the youth, as the young guns.
Yeah, apparently.
And but I don't know. I'm still trying to work it out. So obviously, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sache Paatshah Ji, when they went on the Udasiyan, our Itihas writes anything. There were some people write when they actually left Sultanpur to go and do the Udasiyan. 27, and Professor Sahib Singh's even written 37.
Okay.
Whichever one it was. But then if you look at like Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Padshah Ji, they became Guru Sahib Ji at the age of 11. Everyone famously knowing about Guru Harkishan, but Guru Maharaj Padshah Ji at the age of 14.
Okay.
Guru Harkishan
Ji at 9.
Yeah, Guru Harkishan Padshah, everyone knows at the age of 5. So very young. And then myself, 35 years old now.
Yeah.
Jagraj Singh is 37 years old.
So people look at it, they think we're quite young, but actually,
I'm still, I don't know.
Maharaj says in Bani that when you reach 40, bas aap pur ho gaye.
So Maharaj is saying, 40 pur hoye, 50 pag khise. So what Maharaj is saying, when you start entering between 40 and 50, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੱਗ ਖਿਸਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਭਾਵ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਖਿਸਕਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਣੇ ਆ.
It's downhill.
Then it's downhill from there. So me and Jagraj are coming to the end of our youth.
Yeah.
And it's downhill from there.
Yeah, that's right. So we're not really youth anymore. You know, we look at sometimes when I meet
we should be now passing on the responsibility.
When you meet some 17-year-old or a 15-year-old kid who's so passionate about Sikhi, I'm thinking that's the youth. I'm not thinking I'm youth. I'm thinking that's the youth, because
right.
That age is somebody that could be my son. Yeah. If I got married at 21,
of course,
then a 15-year-old kid would be basically my child's age now. So what we've got is a situation that we still get treated like kids. We don't know anything. Yeah. But the other thing with the youth is that often now, which I feel is fair, they know more than some of the people that are running the Gurdwara. And this is a very key issue.
We're not talking majority, we're not talking for everyone, but we're saying we are finding this now. It's becoming very often
because
now.
The Naujawan are reading their Bani, they're reading Itihas, they're reading Rehatname.
Of course.
And then when they come to this situation, they said, the answer that's given to them, we know, we've been doing this for 20, 30 years. You just got born yesterday. But actually, you know, the arguments that the youth are presenting many times are coming from a knowledge of Gurbani, knowledge of Itihas, but this doesn't get respected that much. So, about the protests, are all the protests that are happening in this country only about Anand Kaaraj? Because people seem to think that we fixated on this issue.
Well, no, that's not the only protest that I know of. I remember there was a great gathering when everyone protested and got together for the Rajwana situation.
That's right.
You know, and obviously we have the rally, which isn't similar to a protest. Rally happens every year, about 1984.
Yeah.
So Anand Kaaraj definitely is not the only.
And obviously the Beadabi in India that's happening for Swoops of Guru Maharaj. Lots of people came together for that all over the world.
So if we look at it in that way, is it something like, is it a new concept that Sikhs are doing for now in this Anand Kaaraj situation? Oh, of course not.
They get together and they do stuff. The other thing is there have been loads of protests at Gurdwara about things like party halls.
That's right.
So this was a common thing.
Yes, so before the Anand Kaaraj
10 years ago, this was a common thing that many Gurdwara had invested in a hall where they were letting parties happen, smoking and drinking happen.
I think about 10 years ago you're saying that the protests started, but the halls have been there for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, going to Gurdwara halls with alcohol and meat and everything else served there.
But we didn't know any better because no one had told us anything. The thing is that when people started questioning that and trying to change that system, many of them got called the same name, that they were fanatics and
look at this,
extremists and trying to change what was been happening for so long.
But we were programmed in such a way, we were made to believe that, this is actually quite a good idea. So if we move on.
So we need to move on with a few points actually. So the thing is the question here is, where are people getting the Sikhi from? And we've talked about that people actually aren't reading Gurbani and getting the Sikhi from Gurbani or from Itihas. They're mostly getting it from their parents and what they've seen. And this is a circle that the youth have to break, because it's a vicious circle. Because if the youth now tend to know less than their parents, and then their kids are going to see what they do as true Sikhi. We can't go down that route. We have to get our Sikhi from Gurbani and from Itihas. So VG, we haven't got that long left, there's 20 minutes left, so we've got to get on with our points.
Just to quickly clarify, like people keep defining what Sikhi is, what Guru Nanak Dev Ji's concept of Sikhi is, and everyone's saying like this is Guru Nanak's concept is this, but it doesn't always match with Gurbani. Guru Sikhi is Guru Sahib Ji saying Guru Sikh meet chalo ho Guru Chali. Jo Guru kahe soi pal mano. It's following the Guru's. The word Sikh comes from the Sanskrit word like ashesh, to be a disciple, meaning a follower. So taking on the instructions
fully
from
following,
your Guru.
not just like so this is a key thing. So even when we put on our channel, the first bit is trying to be better Sikhs, because it's so hard to be a proper Sikh. But people are now saying, well, I'm a Sikh, I deserve to be able to do the Anand Kaaraj. Or Guru Nanak Dev Ji never said that.
Yes.
But they don't know what Guru Nanak Dev Ji said or did because they've never read his history in
and
full.
Everyone says Guru Nanak Dev Ji is
never read Gurbani.
This Guru that accepts everyone. But remember, this is that same Guru Nanak Sache Paatshah Ji that went to the river Ganges and started throwing the water the other way. He's very revolutionary, challenged people. He did things outside of the box. He didn't say, no, this is absolutely fine what you're doing, just carry on.
Yeah.
You know, Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to
They
Jagraj
criticized idols as well.
Yes. So where people
Aarti
were then doing the Aarti of idols, and Maharaj Ji then went there and said, Gagan mein tha Ravchan Deepak bane.
And also Guru Gobind Singh themselves, they criticize in their Bani as well about idol worship. So,
yes.
Viji, there's a lot of criticisms of the protests that happened recently. I want to spend just 5 minutes going through these things because the first one that comes up is, oh, it's so terrible, they've ruined someone's big day. What do you think about that idea?
So we need to get our priorities right and try and understand whose fault it actually is that their days
because the
been
protesters
ruined.
are being blamed for ruining their day.
Virji, just clarify for everyone who's ruined the day.
Well, for me,
the protesters.
I don't think the protesters are the ones that are ruining it. The thing is, a couple, actually, in Leamington Spa is just a good example. They have to pay, I think, £2,000 extra just to have an interfaith Anand Kaaraj, because you have to book a whole bunch of security to stop people coming in protesting.
Yes.
So the couple are very aware, right, that they are doing exactly something that's not going to be happening. And some Gurudwara Viji, they do these weddings on Mondays and Fridays, between Monday and Friday, but not on the weekend, because they say there's going to be a problem with that. Yeah. So people are aware that what they're doing isn't exactly good. You know, people, not everybody accepts it, but if you're doing something so good as getting married, why should you have to hide it?
Yeah.
You know.
So everyone keeps saying the protesters are spoiling the day, but it's not. We don't hear very often saying, "Oh, well, the committees are ruining these people's."
The committee are basically telling these people, "Don't worry, we'll keep it going for you," but they know full well that they can't guarantee it. Somebody could come and ruin their day. Why are they taking money of these people and letting them do something which, again, we've clarified, goes against Gurbani, goes against Maryada? There's so many posts about the Maryada, we haven't really covered it here. That the Sikh Riyad Maryada says that as well.
Yes.
It says it in the Hukamname of Guru Sahib. It says it from the Akaal Takht Hukamname as well.
Yes.
So there's so much history about this.
Let's just get through some of the points now.
Okay, so one point is about covering the face.
Your face when they're protesting. Covering their face legally, from what I've been told, and this is by a professional person that was amongst the protesters, said that legally they're actually allowed to cover their face during protests. So there's nothing they're not breaking the law by doing that.
And
in any form of way.
They get defamed, don't they?
Yes.
So what happens is somebody's on there, and they're legit from the Gurbani point of view, in the sense that they're saying that it shouldn't happen, but people will call them fanatics and stuff. And if somebody sees their colleague's picture up there, they might tell the boss if they don't like them,
and some of them,
try and ruin their career.
I feel when they're actually trying to fight for keeping Guru Sahib Ji's Maryada in place, Guru Sahib Ji's code of conduct in place, it's not fair that they should lose their jobs over doing the right.
Because the defamation is happening from the committee sometimes. When you know it's in Leamington Spa,
carrying out a just act, it's not right for them to have to lose their careers over this.
Yeah, and you know, there's people that would lie and say, "Oh, he did this," because we've had that happen just recently.
Well, we know what the phone call was completely fabricated.
Vijay, what do you think about this idea of if we're imposing our rules on others? Because it's not fair for some people to impose their rules on other people.
So, if you want to clarify in which...
So basically, what they're saying is, you people believe that interfaith marriages shouldn't happen. These people say it's okay. So you don't have the right to go and tell them how they're doing, what they're doing is wrong. Just let them do what they want.
I think we've covered that point in the sense of then we need to go back to where are we getting our Sikhi from? Because Sikhi was never about what I think is right, what Jagraj Singh thinks is right, what basics of Sikhi thinks is right, but what we're trying to do is making a humble attempt to try and understand what is right
as per Gurbani, as per history.
Yes.
The other thing to here, just I want to raise this point about imposing rules. If someone walks into a Gurdwara tomorrow in front of us, wearing shoes, no head covered, smoking a cigarette and blowing smoke into the Sangat's face and smoke over Guru Maharaj, that person would either, maybe if they survived it, it's just in that hole, but very likely would get physically assaulted as per the law of today. They would get somebody would pick them up and throw them out of the Gurdwara, right? That's imposing your rules on other people. But very few people would criticize that because of the blatant disrespect that is being shown here. Now, I'm not equating that to somebody who, for the sake of their partner, is standing there and going through the whole ceremony. But the person must understand, the person who is not of a Sikh faith, that really they're taking part in a ceremony which is for Sikhs. And when they're bowing down to Guru Granth Sahib Ji and they don't intend to follow any of the 4 hukums that are given, then they really are
but then that
disrespecting the ceremony,
then
aren't
that
they?
brings us to a next point.
It's
And then,
misusing the ceremony.
This is now the biggest question that we've got is like, so what about the people who shave, drink, go through all these?
So this always comes up.
They're born in Sikh families and they are allowed. So why is that? Why are they allowed?
No, that's a very fair point, and we have to just address that. Firstly, you know, we're not justifying someone cutting their hair after the Anand Kaaraj. We're not saying it's okay to go out and get drunk. So on our basis, obviously that's wrong. That's not as per Sikhi. And what we've been doing for the last 4 years is working to educate everyone we can about what Sikhi is saying, especially those people that have not been educated already. So we try to focus, this is our, like what we do is focus upon the 75% in a way that don't come to Gurdwara that much. There's 25% of people that do, but 75% don't. So we focus on them. So, but the thing to understand is, statistically, this is just pure statistics, that actually only 21% of people ever change their faith. And it's probably lower for a Sikh community. Yeah. So what you've got are these people, 90% of the time probably they're going to stay in Sikhi. So if they ever become religious in their life, they're going to turn to the Guru.
That's right.
So if they get told you can't do Anand Kaaraj, right, it's unlikely. But if somebody's a Christian and they're doing Anand Kaaraj, if they become more religious later on, they're probably going to go towards Christianity. Right? They're going to go to the faith they were raised up where they're most comfortable. So what we're saying is, it's not for us to judge the Sikhi of that person, but we have got a solution, right? Because we need to get to that quickly.
So it doesn't make sense to turn somebody away when there's 80% chance,
90% chance that they're going to follow.
That they're going to actually come back to Sikhi.
And also,
one day.
they'll never claim that somebody's better than the Guru.
That's right.
Yeah,
they might not be following the Guru at that time, but they still believe what Guru Nanak is saying to be 100% true. Or,
So so far we talked about the problem, talked about Gurbani. What we want to do now is lay out some of the solutions, and then hopefully we can get 1 or 2 calls in as well by the end. So we've tried to go through it. Sasangji, please to forgive us if we've gone through it slowly, but some things did need to be clarified. Solutions. So the first solution we've got is a wedding course. So ourselves, Basic Sikhi, Seek to Inspire by Jagraj Singh, and also Khalsa Foundation, represented by Jagraj Singh, we're going to be making a wedding course. In fact, we've already started to make the wedding course. The draft has been approved and we're writing it as we speak right now. And this, our aim is this becomes compulsory by all Gurdwara. So the 3 things that will be covered in this wedding course is what is Sikhi, so everybody knows what it is. And this is a course that anybody can go on. Even if you're not a Sikh, you can come on this course. So the first thing is what is Sikhi. The second thing will be what is the Anand Kaaraj itself, all the different parts of it, the ceremonies, what do they entail. The third one is going to be about how do you build, take the Guru's advice to build a happily married life and to bring up your kids within Sikhi.
So this course, is it going to be only for when somebody, if there's an interfaith marriage that...
No, it's for anybody, everybody. So we're dealing with that problem where a lot of the youth are not getting married, and it should be compulsory for everyone.
So this big
it's a one-day course.
So this big issue that everybody's got now,
they can't
of like, what about those that don't follow Sikhi but they're Sikhs? So now this is a solution for everyone. So hopefully we're going to get Gurdwara to make it compulsory for whoever books in their Anand Kaaraj
to do that course.
Whether they're Amritdhari,
I've learned it,
whether they're not Amritdhari, whether they drink, smoke, or they are Amritdhari, they all have to go on this course.
And the thing is, where there's a concern, where somebody might have come from a non-Sikh background and we're not sure they're going to follow Sikhi, or they might be an atheist but they're from a Sikh family, then
so let's just clarify. So if they say we've got no intention of following Sikhi, then what is the answer to them?
So that person, if they say we're not going to follow Sikhi, then they can't do Anand Kaaraj.
Just to clarify,
they can't. So it's not like the course, a ticket to the Anand Kaaraj. The second thing is that where there is someone who says, no, I intend to follow Sikhi, but there's a concern that they may be lying for the sake of the ceremony, because not everybody is truthful. Asank chor, asank, people that are saying like, exactly. So now there would be Panj Singhs that would be set up for them to take a deeper view into that and make a decision from the Gurmat angle. Right? Now quickly, we believe that the other solution has to be long-term education. That every Gurdwara should have educational courses. So, for example, we're going to the Waheguru course. We've gone through it 8 or 9 times.
How would this get implemented, the course in Gurdwara?
So basically,
the Anand Kaaraj course. So you're saying it's a one-day course?
Yes, a one-day course. So what we would do is we would train people to deliver the course, and they would go and deliver it in different parts. So people that are Amritari, people that are Raitwan, they can come on the trainer course, and it's going to be available online as well. But ideally, it should be by someone talking to you, and then when you physically get that certificate for attending, then they can also raise a concern and have a personal interview with you about what your Rait is like and what you plan to do with Sikhi, and do you accept what Gurbani is saying. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on each person, so we're going to vet them properly.
And from when we look at the content of this course, and from our experience from Prachar anyway, what it will bring is those that are smoking, drinking, shaving, it will make them think about this ceremony with a lot more depth.
Yeah.
And they might even stop doing those things by the ceremony.
Exactly.
But we're planting a seed, and then those, instead of breaking somebody's heart is what everyone's concerned about, and just telling somebody we're not interested. So even if somebody understands that, okay, you can't do the Anand Kaaraj, but what we will recommend to them is you can't do the Anand Kaaraj, you don't want to become Sikh, but come to the course anyway, so you can understand why.
So Viji, we've already got a few minutes. I'll quickly go through this. So firstly, one solution is we make this wedding course, and that solution's already been worked upon. The second thing is that we believe that every Gurdwara should have regular educational courses. So something like what we've got now starting in Smedic from next week, which is something which is available online. It's available we've done it 8-9 times now across the country, which is the Waheguru course, and other things that are available. Also, weekly Katha. You know, it's happening in Bristol, it's happening in Southall, it's happening in Birmingham. So weekly Katha. And also at the moment, and every year, we've now set up this Pracharik course, actually train the people to become the Prachariks for the future, full-time Prachariks for the future. Also, we believe that there should be to strengthen all the Maryada across the Gurdwara. And the only way to do that really is to set up a Panj Singh or Panj Jahedar Council for the UK. See where the Sikh Council and the Sikh Federation, these organisations, where they miss out is the link to the Sangat. The Sangat feel the link to these organisations only if they had chosen the people that were running them, but a lot of the times they don't. So I believe, and we discuss this, is there should be really Panj Jahedar for the UK who are chosen for their Gurmat knowledge, for their Gurmat Rani Bani, for their lifestyle, and then those people become our guides, and then they tell all the other organisations, and also they can organise a boycott of a rogue Gurdwara committee, for example, that is going against the Maryada, that is doing things that are wrong. Whether it's Biadbi of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, whether it's Biadbi, whether it's going against the ruling on the Anand Kaaraj, there needs to be not just voluntary and softly, but there needs to be somebody who can actually impose. And the historical example we have is Akaal Fulla Singh, who brought the king of Punjab at that time, Ranjit Singh. Raja Ranjit Singh was brought to Akaal Takht Sahib, and he agreed to be whipped because of what he did, which went against the Sikh tenets of his faith. He went and married somebody who was Muslim, and he was actually ordered to be whipped for that. Now, Viji, the other thing is there has to be an alternative. Yeah, there has to be an alternative that needs to be developed and offered to people that are interfaith. So what we think, there should be Katha and Kirtan and some kind of part done on that day. So a couple is not said, well, you're interfaith, we can't have you here. But they said, you can come here, we'd like you to go on the course, and if you choose then that you can't commit to Sikhi, both of you, then you can have the alternative, which is Anand Kaaraj alternative, where you come and you're given a blessing. But a lot of Gurdwara now, they won't even offer it. They just say no. Because the person on the other end line doesn't understand that this is a person who's reaching out, saying they want to come to the Guru. They should be welcomed in and told, you can't do this for this reason, but you can do this.
That's right.
And the alternative should be offered. So we've got 5 minutes, so we're going to take a few calls. So Sasangaji, thank you so much for sticking with us so far. We've got through all the points in our list. Any calls, please come through. So who's the first one, Ji? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Hi, sorry, I've just caught into your show in the last 15 minutes. I've got
Okay.
a couple of questions I was hoping you could answer for me.
Sure.
I'm Sikh.
Right.
I married a non-Sikh girl.
Okay.
About 2 years ago.
Okay.
Before everything started.
Right.
But I researched it at the time. Why
Yeah.
it's important to me now because it's come close to home. I did, at the time, I did a registry wedding. I went away and did it. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I remember I sort of focused on that and thought, okay, this was written in 1932, whatever it is that man made. But then I sort of started researching the 4 ceremonies in Sikhi.
Yeah.
Right, and I realised that I couldn't get my wife to do an Anand Kaaraj because she would be accepting Sikhi. I want to know if that's right.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So she'd be accepting Sikhi even though she's not accepting Sikhi.
She'll be accepting the Guru.
So it'll be like a contradiction in terms, you know.
Exactly. So I'm a hypocrite for look. I'll tell you why. The second thing is by me doing this, because now I've read so much on it. At the time, I made my own decision before the hype started.
Yeah.
Right, and I decided to do a registry wedding after my research. Now, does that, number one, am I still, silly question, I do apologise, by doing an interfaith marriage, regardless to somebody else, that doesn't still make me Sikh, number one?
Yeah, you can still be a Sikh within an interfaith marriage. We're not saying stop, don't get married to someone that you love. What we're saying is that you can get married to someone that you love, get married to whoever you want, but when it comes to Anand Kaaraj ceremony, this is a ceremony that only 2 Sikhs can go through together. Because they're not making commitment to the Guru, not to each other. There's nothing in there like the Christian marriage vows about a promise to honour, love and, you know, look after you. That doesn't exist in the Sikh Anand Kaaraj.
No, I appreciate that. I needed to ask that question because it's come close to home with something that's happening where I've completely protested against it. I've been called a hypocrite. So I've been battering myself and I turned the TV on and saw your show. So, okay, thank you for answering my question. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Viji. So just we'll bring on the next caller then. Just a quick benti to all the Sangat that are phoning up. Please, can we keep the topics relevant to what we've been talking about rather than whatever? Okay, go ahead. Thank you for that, Viji. Next one, please. Next call, please.
Hello.
Hello, ji. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh.
Sat Sri Akal ji.
Sat Sri Akal ji.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਓ ਜੀ ਹੁਣੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਥਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਲਾਵਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਿੱਤੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਲਾਵ ਦੀ ਐਡ ਹੈਗੀ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਲੇਸ਼ਨ
ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ Okay, I think that's we'll leave that one because really it's often people will say it's not a Sayyid translation, but they should give their references from where they're getting that from. They got some steek, some historical granth where they're getting it from. We can't just make up our own translation. Everything that we're talking about here is from steeks and granths that are referenced.
We're not claiming that there is only one arth of Gurbani, but you know. So
yeah. So Viji, we got on a last call, please. Hello, Ji. Okay, so Sasangaji, we don't have any time for any more calls because it actually was 1 hour show and then we have to go on. So we do apologize for that. But as you've seen, we've gone through a number of different points. Just going back to the solutions, the 3 main points are we should develop an alternative for couples that want to get an interfaith marriage done so they feel welcomed and into the community. They don't feel that they're being told to go away, we don't care about them anymore, because we do care about them.
Because Guru Nanak Patsha Ji gives advice and gives instructions to every taram.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like in our history.
This is a Jagat Guru, right?
Yeah, Pir Buddhu Shah Ji came to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. He never changed, he remained a Muslim. But also Guru Sahib Ji guided him and he took on Guru Sahib Ji's guidance.
So number 1, an alternative where they feel welcomed. Number 2, education for everyone and in the beans of the course. And then maybe a Panj Pyare or Panj Singh that can then deal with any situations where there is a question mark. Yeah. And the third thing is to strengthen the Gurdwaras across the country. So there is some kind of minimum standard and certain rules can be imposed upon everybody rather than a free for all what we've got now. It's like the wild, wild west. You can do what you like and no one's going to stop you because, you know, you're a law into yourself. But the Gurdwara have never been laws into themselves.
And because we're in England, obviously we're going to still teach Gurmukhi, but more and more English prachar in Gurdwara up and down the
education
country.
So education. Yeah.
Vidya Vichari, Taparupakari.
Absolutely, we need to learn. So Sangaji, I hope this course, this talk today has been educational. Please forgive us for the many mistakes we would have made. We're learning as well, just like you are. So let's all join together with the Fateh Ji. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.